Hello Year 9, I hope you're all happy, healthy and well. My name is Miss Dyke and today we are going to be learning about aerobic and anaerobic respiration and the differences between them, what effects they have on our body. So our learning objectives today are going to be, number one, to understand the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, what kind of effects they might have. And learning objective number two is to understand practical examples, so examples of sport or different types of exercise of when each respiratory system might be used. So first of all, you should have all received a worksheet that looks a little bit like this. And as you can see at the top, we've got our self-starter, which is just on the PowerPoint here. So before we go any further, I would like you to note down any ideas or knowledge that you might have about aerobic or anaerobic respiration, or even just the words themselves. So you can think, pair and share with somebody at home if you've not got a single clue, and if nobody's at home to talk, that's absolutely fine. Hopefully you'll be able to go back and fill out some new knowledge that you've got by the end of the lesson. Now, feel free to pause this video at any time. I'm going to forward you the PowerPoint as well, so you can go through the worksheet in your own time. That is absolutely not a problem. Or you can fill out the worksheet as we go through the video if you find that helpful. Okay, so if you'd like to pause, just take a little moment to do that self-starter, or if you're really not too sure, that's fine. Let's just carry on. So what you'll need today is just the worksheet here. If you're filling it out online, that's not a problem. It's a Word document, so you can just type into the blank spaces. If you'd like to print it out and write on it or do some drawings on it, absolutely fine, as long as you can scan it back in or send a photo over to my email at the end, whatever suits you best. So as we go through the PowerPoint, if you're doing this in your own time, you'll notice that I've put little screenshots of the worksheet as we go, so you know exactly whereabouts you should be for the content that we're just about to cover. So we've got aerobic respiration, and you will need this area of the worksheet for aerobic respiration. So all of your aerobic respiration stuff is in blue, just to make it nice and easy for you. So what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is where we create energy with the use of oxygen. So we use glucose, which comes from our food, and with the addition of oxygen, that creates energy and carbon dioxide and water. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, but on your worksheet here, I would like you to fill that out in your own time. And also you can use pictures, so you can draw pictures, or you can copy and paste pictures in, whatever suits you to help you remember. If you're feeling super clever and you're like, oh, I know what glucose is, then I've got a little extension question here for you to think about. What foods are high in glucose? So we get glucose from our food, but what kind of food is super high in glucose? So what would we want to help us with our aerobic respiration? Okay, so aerobic exercise is where energy is created through breaking down glucose using oxygen. So the oxygen really helps to break down the glucose that's in our food and turn it into energy. So aerobic exercise is exercise that can be maintained for a long period of time. So something really easy to think about is something like marathon running, because we know that a marathon takes at least 2 hours and a bit. Bonus points if anybody knows the world record for the marathon. There's a little research task for you. So it includes low intensity activities. So we want to remember low intensity when we think about aerobic respiration. So things like walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, anything that's low intensity and for a long period of time. Okay, now on your worksheet, I've given you space just here for you to have a think about what other sporting examples you can think of that might use aerobic respiration. So remember, our aerobic respiration is low intensity, long periods of time, and we use oxygen to help break down that glucose and turn it into energy. So you've got space on here. You're more than welcome to just type in answers, write in answers, copy and paste pictures of different sports that you might think of, but try and think of an example that I haven't already given you. Try and think of 3 examples, in fact, that I haven't already given you. Okay, fantastic. So moving on to anaerobic respiration. So if you will need this section of your worksheet now, which should just be below where you've just finished popping in those activities. So if aerobic respiration uses oxygen to help create energy, anaerobic, there we go. Anaerobic respiration is where we create energy without the use of oxygen. So we still use that glucose, but no oxygen is used to break it down. So we still get energy, but we also get something called lactic acid, which I'll come on to in a short while. So just make sure that you've got that filled out on your worksheet as well. So anaerobic exercise, where the energy is needed, when the energy needed for the exercise is without oxygen. So the respiratory system cannot get enough oxygen to the muscles, and this is because an anaerobic exercise is something that needs energy really, really quickly, and they're often done at a really high intensity, so really fast, really high intensity. So whereas our aerobic was low intensity, long periods of time, our anaerobic is high intensity and quite short periods of time. So we've got things like in gymnastics, if you're doing a vault, it's quite often over in seconds. By the time you've done a really fast sprint, a really powerful jump, done that vault, stuck the landing, it's over in seconds. Same goes for throwing events, so like the javelin or shot put, and also sprinting. So the complete opposite of a marathon runner, we've got a 100-meter runner. Okay, so it's where the activity just lasts a few seconds rather than like a marathon, a few hours. It's the complete opposite. Okay, so the same thing again. On your worksheet, I want you to have a little think about other activities that aren't sprinting, like I've just mentioned. So have a think. Maybe it applies to something in your sport, or you could just relate it to your sport. That's absolutely fine. And just pop those on your worksheet there. So I said that we also get lactic acid, which is produced in anaerobic respiration. So because there's no oxygen available, we end up with lactic acid, which is a byproduct. So it's a waste product of anaerobic exercise, and it causes fatigue. So it causes our muscles to tire really quickly because we're working at such a high intensity. Okay, so take some time, just make sure you've got that little section of your worksheet completed and up to date, and then we'll move on to your next task. So your next task here looks like this on your worksheet, test the grown-up. So I want you to now combine all of the knowledge that has just gone into your head, everything that you've just popped onto your worksheet, and we're going to just watch this video. I'll let you watch it in your own time rather than playing it now. It's attached to the PowerPoint. And before you play the video, I want you to just have a quick think. Oh yeah, remember aerobic is this and anaerobic is this. Aerobic is with oxygen, anaerobic without oxygen. And just have a little think about what the differences between the two are. So we're going to watch the video, and then I would like you to write down 3 questions on your worksheet here. And I also want you to write down the answer to them. So you're writing your own question, and then you're writing, oh yeah, okay, and I know the answer to that question. Then finally, I would like you to find the oldest person in your house, whether it's your dad, your nan, your auntie, whoever's living with you, the oldest person that's in the house. If they're not in the house, when they come back, you can test it out on them then. If they get the answer to your question right, what I would like you to do is add as much detail as possible to what they said. If they get it wrong, then I want you to teach them why they got it wrong, and I want you to tell them the answer, teach them the answer, give as much detail as you possibly can, depending on what your question is. Okay, so have a real think about that. So you can pause the video now, come up with your questions and your answers, and then test the oldest person in your house. Okay, and the last section of the lesson today, we're of course going to test ourselves and make sure that our knowledge is as good as it can possibly be. So I've created some short exam style questions here just to get you in that way of thinking. So you can see at the end of each question, it's got a number in the brackets, and that number represents how many marks are available for that question. So quick maths, 7, 8. So we've got 8 marks available for these 4 questions. So number 1, explain the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise. Hopefully you're an absolute expert on that now. If you can, I would love for you to really try and answer these questions on your worksheet without flicking back to the page before. So hopefully your knowledge is in there. You can think of the pictures that you used. You can think of the questions that you asked your grown-up. You can think of the answers that they gave you and the corrections that you gave them to really try and answer these questions without flicking back to your sheet. If you need to, that's okay, but we're going to go through and mark it. I'm going to give you the answers anyway at the end. So really just try your best, and then we can purple pen in the rest. Question number 2, write an equation that summarizes aerobic exercise. So cast your mind back to nearer the start of the lesson where we had that equation with lots of circles in that hopefully you've also put some pictures in to help you remember. And just do your best with that one. Anything you can't remember, don't worry, we'll fill in the blanks afterwards. What is lactic acid? So you can see here we've got 2 marks for this question. So I want to know not only what it is, but what does it cause as a result for athletes? What does it mean for them? What does it mean for their muscles? And finally, question number 4, is the marathon an aerobic or anaerobic event? So cast your mind back to, we can use our answer to the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise here. So aerobic, can we remember, is that with oxygen? Is it without? Anaerobic, is it with or without? Aerobic, is that low intensity, long amounts of time? Or is it high intensity and short amount of time? So have a think about that. And those are the kind of things that I'm looking to see in your answer. So I need to know, is it aerobic? Is it anaerobic? And then I need 2 points, at least 2 points, that give me an explanation as to which one it is. Now, once you've completed that, there is a slide on the end of the PowerPoint, which I'll flick very quickly onto now. And back off. So try not to use that because we're going to go through and fill in the blanks afterwards. So once you've completed the answers to those questions, then I want you to either get out your purple pen if you're writing it, or you can use like purple ink on Word. That's not a problem. And just fill in the blanks, the little bits that you couldn't remember. Hopefully there aren't too many, but if so, that's absolutely fine. So we should get to that point just at the bottom of our worksheet here. So you can fill in the text here, you can type it, or you can write it, okay? Once you've completed the worksheet, what I'd like you to do is, if it's online, just ping it across to me in an email so I can have a look at your fantastic work. Or if you've written it down, hopefully you've got a printer where you can scan back in or take a photo of it and send it across in an email. If you've got any other questions or anything that I can help with, please do ask. Or if any of the information, anything I've said doesn't make sense, then please let me know and I hopefully can clarify it for you. Okay, you know, so good luck with all of that. And I look forward to seeing some of the amazing work that you produce. Thanks all, bye.